Happy morning, dear friends. Here's yours, Dr. Rajanta. Welcome to Demystify with Ajay. Dear friends, in the previous session, we saw that one of the main problems when importing data sets from external source is to find some missing values that is valued as NaN. So we saw how to overcome this type of problem. But this is only one of the operations to be performed when importing new data. And in this session, we will see some common operations that do not involve this missing value, but that obviate other undesired values present in the data frame, as like whether it can be incorrect or unwanted or some duplicated values. And dear friends, actually one of these operations to be carried out on a data frame just generated from imported data is data replacing. And in addition to that NANs within the data frame, there may be values that for our analysis could be uncomfortable. So in these cases, it will be necessary to replace them with other values more suited to us. So the pandas library provide us with the replace method that allows to replace values with others more in keeping with our analysis standard. Okay, now later load a data set containing a series of garments with the description of the size and colors. So here it is the exact data set. So kindly have a look onto this. What we are just going to do is, as we can see, the data frame presents a series of garments with a color and size. Looking at the colors carefully, we will find the carmine color and this blue X color. So in the first case, for an example, if we would like to simplify such a specific color into a more general one such as red. So in second case, however, it is certainly a data entry error. Okay, so therefore must be corrected with blue. Okay, so we want to make it towards the blue. Okay, so let me just make this correction by using the method replace, and once on done, kindly have a note of it what it happens. This exactly replaced. So here this carmine has been replaced with red, and of course this typo error, okay, data entry error which is done with X has been replaced with blue. Okay, now of course we will obtain the data frame with the correct values now. So in this kind of operation, unless you are performing some test, okay, so it is always better to use the optional in place is equal to true. That is the in place parameter set to true. So to make the changes permanently. Okay, so now next let me just move on to the next one. See, another common case present in newly imported data is that of presenting rows with duplicate data. Again, you will need to make correction removing all duplicate data. However, given the size of the data sets and consequently of the data frame generated, being able to understand whether or not duplicate data exists within them can be problematic. So if it is not done with the correct tools. So in this regard, in this Panda library, the duplicated, so the exact method here we are just going to make it is duplicated method that is exist. So which helps us in search of duplicate rows. And we apply this method to our test data frame, and let me just kindly have a note onto this. So see here, dear friends, the method returns a Boolean series with true values indicating that there are duplicate rows. And as you can see from the result, there are two duplicate lines in the position 6 and 7. What is the next? Of course, the next step will therefore be their removal. Also, in this case, there is a special method that does is drop duplicates. So, this exact method keeps the first observed value by default. So, you can vary this behavior by adding the optional keep last. Okay, that is also possible. So kindly have a note of it. So of course, we are just removing this 6 and 7. But in case, yeah, kindly have a note of it. We want to keep the last one. And here we have just specified the in place is equal to 2. So of course, dear friends, so leaving the last replicator instead and deleting the previous ones. So what we just get? So kindly have a note of it. Yeah. So we are able to have that seventh. So see here, 6, 7 is now there. And yeah, when I'm just making towards the value, so 0 to 1, how this happens. So last it is present. So also in this case, it is advisable to add the optional parameter that is in place to true to make the correction permanently. Next, yeah, of course, dear friends, another operations often necessary when importing a new data set in the form of data frame is to change the labels of the column and rows. So like the values within the data frame. So the labels present in the indexes may also be invalid or irrelevant. So yeah, let me just take the exact data. Previously, we have just used this books.csv and let me import it with the read CSV file. Okay, yeah, as we can see, the read CSV method has added a progressive sequence of the integer as label. But it is reality. The important data set already has identifying values inside it for each row, that is the ID column. So a more correct way to import these value is by adding the optional index call is equal to 0 parameter. So specifying the number of column that will be used as index label. So here let me just make this as index call is equal to 0. So now, yeah, of course we have a unique ID. So let me just remove that. So kindly just see here, dear friends. So now, by checking the various labels, both of index and the column present in the newly imported data frames, corrections or changes could be made according to our analysis needed. So in this regard, there is a rename method which allows us to modify the names for the labels in a flexible way. For an example, a single column label can be punctually corrected. So let's correct this publication date, okay, by creating a space between the two words. Okay, so you can therefore act as a column level by adding the optional column parameter and specifying it in the manner of dictionary. Okay, so which indicates the label to be replaced as key and the new values as value. Okay, so here we are just making that. So let I execute here. Kindly have a note of it. Yeah, of course, we are just now happening. So this obtained, as you can see, the exact data frame, the fix worked perfectly. So we added the optional in place parameter to set to true to make the changes, but the rename method can also be used recursively. Okay, so by inserting some string function, yeah, it is possible to modify all the labels at the same time, both of index and to the top column. You use the optional parameter index and column and specify the string function to change the corresponding label. That can be possible here. So by inserting that, kindly have a note of it. For the index, it is the string to lower, and to the column, of course, it is towards the upper. Okay, now kindly have a note of it. In addition to the rename method, yeah, we are able to see the changes for both the index. Kindly just see to the index and to the column. So here we are just making the column in the upper. So see here, everything are now in upper. And dear friends, actually, in addition to the rename method, yeah, other method can be used such as, yeah, you can make use of this mapping. Okay, so which allows us to apply a function defined by us to all labels. So for an example, if we could extract our first 5 characters from the index label, excluding all the others. Okay, yeah, we can just get it only with this, excluding everything. That is, it is possible here. So we can just make use of that with a limiter. So see here how this id. So here we are just getting only the first 5. Other the things are exempted. That is also, it is possible. Okay, so kindly have a note of it. Wherever it is necessary, yeah, you can have that exact requirement with these functions. Now next, yeah, we are just moving on to the sparse data frame. It is not uncommon, especially in the scientific field, that many imported data sets converted into data frame prove to be almost totally empty. So that is, most of the values present within the data frame do not have values or enhanced with missing values. So in this case, which they are specified as like a sparse data frame. This type of data sets are much more common than one might imagine and generally have a very large dimension. So the factor to be considered immediately is that given their size, the sparse data frame occupy large amount of memory and that they do not unnecessarily So since for the most part they are empty. Okay, as an example, let me just create a sparse data frame. First, we define an array here. Okay, so in that array, we just filled with some random values and then we empty it by filling it for the most part with missing values. Okay, so kindly have a note of it. For an example, if we can replace all the values that is less than 1 with missing values. So how it happens is, yeah, we are just going to make it whichever it is released like that. So which is the values, if it is less than 1, yeah, we are just going to take it as like that missing values. And yeah, we got a data frame in which, kindly have a note of it, yeah, it is a huge data frames is there. So in which, of course, we have a columns of 100 columns and 100 rows. Okay, so we got a data frame in which most of the values are missing. To find out how much memory this data frame occupies, you can use the exact code here. Kindly observe what is the exact memory usage. Okay, and yeah, with this form you can identify that is this data frame with the function of memory underscore usage. Yeah, we therefore have 80.13 bytes occupied in the memory. As for the pandas library, there is a more efficient way to manage this kind of data frame. And in this regard, there is a type of data, that is sparse data, created specifically to make sparse data frame. So we then convert our data frame into a sparse. How come? Yeah, here it is what pd.sparse data type. So kindly have a note of it. Let I execute. So this one SDF is our data frame. Once the conversion is done, yeah, we can get an idea of how much this data frame is sparse. To do this, we can use the sparse density. So before that, let me just make use of this. So yeah, let me have the density. So kindly have a note of it. This attribute which gives us the percentage value of the data density within the data frame. So therefore, yeah, about 16% of data valued within the data frame. So however, this remains a high value. There can be much emptier sparse data frame. If you take a look at the newly generated this SDF, okay, so this data frame, apparently you don't notice any difference from the original data frame. So we see the difference in the amount of memory that this SDF memory had the usage. So kindly have a note of it. Yeah, it is 19.92. So yeah, as we can see from the obtained value, the occupied memory space is considerably less. So there is therefore a much more efficient management of the memory with regards to the sparse data frame. So this is very important factor when dealing with the data frame with tens of thousands of rows and columns. And yeah, dear friends, we became aware of the various problems encountered when dealing with newly imported data sets from external source. We know how to recognize missing values, their roles, and are familiar with various approaches with which to manage these kinds of values, a choice that will depend on the purpose of our analysis. And yeah, dear friends, moreover, we have seen the most common operations on the newly imported data frames in order to make it as clean and understandable as possible. And yeah, next we are just going to follow it with a messy data frame. And yeah, dear friends, I hope you found this video helpful in gaining a solid foundation in using pandas for data analysis. Remember to practice what you have learned and explore further to deepen your understanding. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe the channel for latest updates. Let me just see you in the next video related to messy data frame. Thank you, dear friends. Happy learning.